Broadway beat. Broadway. Broadway beat. Broadway beat. Broadway beat. Broadway. Listen to the Broadway beat. Broadway makes you wanna move your feet. Everybody's tapping into everything that's happening on Broadway beat. Broadway beat. Broadway beat. Broadway beat.
Hello, I'm Richard Ridge, and welcome to Broadway Beat, where we bring you the very best of what the New York theater scene has to offer. This week, it's two new Broadway openings. We'll celebrate with Tony Award-winning composer-lyricist Jason Robert Brown and the company of his latest, the coming-of-age musical 13, which is playing at the Bernard B. Jacobs Theater. But let's start things off by dropping by Sardi's to meet the cast of the Royal Court Theater's renowned production of the Chekhov classic, The Seagull, which has just opened to rave reviews at the Walter Kerr Theater. With a new translation by Christopher Hampton, The Seagull stars Kristen Scott Thomas and Peter Sarsgaard, who are both making their Broadway debuts.
I think in Chekhov, some of these words that get repeated, do you remember? I don't remember. Luck. Just these themes that come through. If you don't translate them the same way, then you don't get those feelings. And I'm bored, boredom, things like that. And he really brings all of that out, and all of it just feels like it's right on the surface without being, annoying.
And talk about working with this wonderful company, and talk about the rehearsal process with your director, Ian Rickson.
Well, we went to England and rehearsed for maybe 12 days or something like that, and then came here and started previews.
Well, Christopher Hampton's written a really remarkable translation, which is so clear and concise. It doesn't feel like an old play. It feels like new language, new play. But it's very true to the original. We talked a lot about the Russian when we were rehearsing it. And I play Masha, who's a sort of depressive alcoholic, very angry, very heartbroken young woman. And I love playing her every night. She's got such fire in her.
And what was London like? Because, you were over there for a very short amount of time for rehearsals. What was that like?
2.5 weeks. Which was sort of a whirlwind. We were rehearsing from about 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. every night. So I was immersed in Chekhov and in this production. So by the time we got back, I felt sort of ready for previews, which I didn't expect after 2.5 weeks.
Please help me, or I'll do something stupid. I'll ruin my life. I'll make a mockery of it. I can't go on like this.
What is it? How can I help you?
I'm unhappy. Nobody has any idea how unhappy I am. I'm in love with Constantine.
Well, Chekhov is the mistake, I think, about Chekhov, which is quite, reaches back in history quite a long way, is that he's very sort of melancholy and lyrical and kind of listless. And what you learn if you work with a Russian on the text itself is that he's actually very crisp and lucid and rather edgy and amusing. Of course, he was always despairingly saying that his plays had comic elements, and this was always resolutely ignored by Stanislavski. But of course, the more you laugh, the more you cry, in my view.
I mean, it's a part that every young actress wants to play, but the challenge of her, the idea that it's I've in no way climb that mountain, but to know that it's a character that's sort of misjudged a lot and often isn't portrayed kind of in a satisfying way makes you really want to sort of grab onto it. And so I was desperate to get the job, and then when I did, I was completely overwhelmed and terrified being in a cast of people like Kristen Scott Thomas and Peter White and people who'd been on stage for years. And so it's just been a massive learning curve. The whole thing's been like going to drama school and training twice, and the fact that we brought it over here is just such a dream come true.
You did this at the Royal Court, and then for Broadway you sort of mixed in some wonderful Americans, but you rehearse in London, right? Talk about that.
We rehearsed in London. Zoe Kazan and I, Zoe plays Masha. It's like my sister now. I so love her, and we share a dressing room. And the instant we met, it was really nice because last time the girl who played Masha was a little bit older and was working a lot. But now I've sort of found a real gal pal in Zoe, and we have so much fun. And the new people have just added this sort of fizz and revived it in such an amazing way, and they're just sort of now ingrained into the gang like they were never not there.
What's wrong with you?
I'm going to kill myself soon. Same method.
I don't recognize you anymore.
Yet. That's ever since I stopped recognizing you. You've changed towards me. Your eyes are cold and make you uncomfortable.
You've got so tetchy lately. The things you say are less and less intelligible. Perhaps they're meant to be symbolic, and I imagine this seagull is meant as some sort of symbol, but I'm sorry, not one I understand.
I mean, it's the first time I've ever been trusted with something like this. You know, I play the goofy guy in most things I do, and so to be trusted with a part of this nature, I knew that it was something that I had to take very seriously, so I've, immersed myself in it completely. And, those tears at the end in Act 4 have to be real for me. It's so I have to believe that I'm there. And it's been a lesson in, method acting or whatever, but taking it very seriously and working really hard, which I'm not sure I've ever done to this extent before.
What was great about your interpretation, you realize that your character is a good writer, but he's squashed down for different reasons, family, society, all these things. He's sort of caught up in this thing.
That's right. And at the end, that's even more tragic, is that he gets this this inspiration. He realizes it's not about old forms and new forms, but what flows from the heart. And he's just had this revelation, and then Nina comes in. He doesn't get to write anything more, and then he ends up doing the inevitable. And so, it's tragic on so many different levels. But at the same time, Chekhov described it as his new comedy, and it has got a lot of laughs in it. It's incredible to think how he did that, to make it so funny and yet so tragic at the same time.
I love this part because I just think there isn't an actress in the world who doesn't recognize themselves in this part. I also really love playing a working mother, because that's what she is, and I just think she's so well written. I mean, Chekhov knew lots of actresses, and all the actresses he knew were all madly in love with him, so he knew how they behave in every single circumstance. So I just think it's just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful part.
And talk about Christopher Hampton's wonderful translation.
Well, I don't know how to talk about it really, because it stands so well for itself. I mean, Christopher I've collaborated with Christopher a couple of times now, once on The Three Sisters and now this, and I just think he's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant adapter of Chekhov, and I mean lots of other things I've worked with him on as well. So he just manages to not make it modern, because it is basically, it's modern in 1890, but now it's modern for 2008, and he's really, really good at bringing things to today.
I admire that man, and I must ask you not to insult him in front of me.
Well, I don't admire him. You also want me to think he's a genius. I'm sorry, I can't lie about it. His books make me want to throw up.
But that's envy! People who have pretensions but no talent have no recourse but to run down real talent. It's their only consolation.
Real talent? I have more talent than the rest of you put together, if you want to know the truth. You're in a rut, all of you. You've snatched top spot in the art world, and you think only the kind of stuff that you do is bona fide and legitimate, and you suppress and silence everybody else. I don't believe in any of you. I don't believe in you or him. All he can do is drink beer and make love to older women. Degenerate! Go back to your beloved theatre and keep on acting in your pathetic, trivial plays.
I have never acted in a play of that description.
Broadway beat.
The law, Rofer, the law. I know what's legal, not what's right, and I'll stick to what's legal.
When you set man's law above God's?
No, far below. But let me draw your attention to a fact. I'm not God. The currents and eddies of right and wrong, which you find such plain sailing, I can't navigate. I'm no voyager. But oh, in the thickets of the law, there, I'm a forester. And I doubt if there's a man alive who could follow me there. Thank God.
While you talk, he's gone.
And no, he should, if he was the devil himself, until he broke the law.
So now you'd give the devil the benefit of the law?
Yes, what would you do? Cut a great road through the law to get after the devil?
I'd cut down every law in England to do that.
Oh? And when the last law was down and the devil turned round on you, where would you hide, Roper? The laws all being flat. This country is planted thick with laws, from coast to coast. Man's laws, not God's. And if you cut them down, and you're just the man to do it, do you really think you could stand upright in the winds that would blow then?
Elizabeth and Jeremy and I and Neil, we all met in Los Angeles. We did a photo shoot out there. We had dinner with David Mamet and played the whole Hollywood game for a day. So, and you know, I'm a huge, huge fan of both of their work. I just think that she's extraordinary. I've always loved her work on West Wing and now Mad Men. I think it's one of the greatest series on television right now. And he's just a firecracker. And I've known of Jeremy's work even in the theater in Chicago for years, and now he's exploded with Entourage. So he's a powerhouse. I can't wait to see what we do.
Is there a secret to unlocking Mamet, or is it all in the dialogue?
I think it's all in the dialogue right now, but what do I know? You know, I'm full of shit. I think you say the lines and get out of the way. But seriously, what do I know at this point? I feel like his language tells you so much more about the character than anything you kind of add to it. And the more you do it, I think the more it starts to unlock it. And it's pretty straightforward in that sense. These people do and say what they are all the time. And there's a lot of fun to be had in this play because it's so much about loyalty and betrayal, and it's so much about the ways that we take power plays. We play, power games with each other. And there's honesty in it, and there's a lot of love in a weird way, I think. But they're just, a couple of jungle animals sitting in it.
Pal Joe is sort of the people doing it are the thing that made me think this was going to be extraordinary. It's already a really unusual, ahead of its time piece of writing. When it first came out, it was extremely risque. It was really dark. I mean, its central character was a total anti-hero, a heel, a schlemiel, you know what I mean? And the women were really, truthfully, at the center of the story, which, and they're all single women. They're all single, independent women. So it was a really unusual piece of writing. I had a feeling when I heard that Joe Mantello was gonna do it and that Richard Greenberg had written the adaptation, I had a feeling it was going to be really spectacular. I knew the movie. I had no familiarity with the original musical, but I knew the movie and I had read the stories years ago. So I knew it was going to be, it wasn't going to be your typical, song and dance and, cheery, chipper little musical. I knew it was going to be dark and exciting and different.
Broadway beat.
Tony Award-winning composer-lyricist Jason Robert Brown is back on Broadway at the Bernard B. Jacobs Theater with his latest, the coming-of-age musical 13. This highly energized, young, talented cast is all between the ages of 13 and 17. Here's a look at 13.
Does your hair still long or your room is clean? Roll along. Every conversation is another lost cause or a list of my flaws. And I'm just about to turn. God, I'm gonna turn 13. I wanna dirt bug. 13. I wanna kill my mom. 13. I wanna mustache. 13. I wanna wonder bra. 13. When do I get it? 13. All of the grown-up stuff. 13. How will I make it? 13. When am I old enough? I wanna fly, wanna run, wanna try, wanna get rich, wanna get drunk, wanna get out, wanna get my braces off, wanna get my nose pierced, wanna grow my hair long, but all I keep hearing is, no, you're not ready, no, it's not time yet, no, it's not right now, wait until you're older, no, you're not ready, no, it's not time yet, no, it's not right now, wait until you're older, forward, laundry, dishes, horses, just settle down and hold your horses.
You know, there were a whole bunch of things that sort of created the show. There were a whole bunch of reasons why I decided, I'm going to write a show with a whole bunch of teenagers. But I think really specifically, I've always had this base of fans that's younger, that are teenagers, that really respond to my work. And I felt like I should write something that speaks directly to them instead of writing something that they sort of imagine that speaks to them. And so I really just wanted to do something for those kids. And when I look up on stage and I see these kids, I think, no, that's who I did it for. It's the most fulfilling feeling in the world.
You had 2 workshop productions. One was in LA and one was at Goodspeed.
Sure. I mean, I'm not sure if you'd even call LA a workshop, but a developmental something or other. Yeah. We did in January 2007, we did our first production of it at the Taper, and then Bob Boyette picked up the show to bring it to New York. And we got a whole new team and a whole new thrilling group of people working on it. And we did a production at the Goodspeed this summer, and now we've come to Broadway, finally. But from the time I started working on this show, it's been 5.5 years.
It started, I think Jason and I both, I was a huge fan of Jason's work. I saw the last 5 years and fell in love with it. And then so much that I went to see him give a talk where he kind of said jokingly, I want to do a show with dancing teenagers. And I used to write musicals, but I'd written a novel about teenagers in New York. And the way New York is kind of a small world. Time passed, and it turns out I knew people who knew Jason. I sent him my book, and he read it to my shock and said he would work with me. So we both had the same weird idea about doing something with teenagers on stage. I think I've never really talked to him about it. I guess we both have very similar, strong memories of middle school, both the joy and the horror, the terrible angst, and I know I do. And, it was kind of coincidence when the premise of the show is Jason's. It was a couple of lines about the kid, his parents got divorced and moved to Indiana. And, my parents got divorced when I was 13, so I instantly kind of related the whole thing. It was about a New York kid. I grew up in New York, so I just felt we clicked quickly, and it went from there.
Well, I play a kid named Brett, and he's kind of like the jock of the school. He's the quarterback. All the girls have crushes on him, and he's a lot of fun because he's a big jerk. And it's kind of fun playing the jerk. I've never really played the jerk before. And the audience response to him is just, a lot of laughs because he's a real kind of dumb guy as well. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Working on the show, it's a really unique experience because, there are no adults in the show. It's a whole bunch of kids. And so, there's no constrictions, no limitations. It's just having fun and expressing yourself. And the show, the storyline is really what we really go through as teenagers. It's not adults playing teenagers. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a really unique feeling.
And talk about the role that you play and what makes her so much fun.
Oh, I play Lucy, and she is the mean girl, the bad girl. And she's just so much fun to play because, she's very witty and she's a manipulator, and she's very scheming, and she plans a lot of different things so that everything goes according to her way, and she gets what she wants, and I love playing her. She's a really strong character, and I really enjoy playing her a lot.
The longer it goes, the worse it'll get, so somebody's gotta tell Brett. Yeah! That girl is bad, bad, bad. She's a very bad person. She's a cop. She's totally bad, 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 bad news. Missing a friend.
that much written about me. I got to draw a lot of it from my character. I'm kind of a bit of a techie nerd in it, and so I tried to bring as much of my nerdy experiences into the role as possible, and I had plenty, so it helped.
It was tricky because I tried to approach it so that it didn't look overly choreographed because they are so individual, and it's like they're finding how they're coming into their own at that age and what makes them them. So I didn't want to be so precise with everything and kind of box them in. So I tried to keep it a little looser, and like the arms are out here, and then they would do it the way they would do it with that energy that they have, and it was such a great process. We taught each other things. It was fantastic.
Well, Kendra is the ditzy blonde, and apparently to my sister it suits me very well. But she's so optimistic, and she's always smiling, and she'll look on the bright side, and she doesn't, she's pretty and she's innocent, and she doesn't know why, and she's always so curious, and she's always wondering. So it's so much fun to experiment with and to try new things. So I'm so happy to be playing her. I could not ask for another character.
I play Eddie, and he is Brett's sidekick, so he kind of wants to be like Brett, and like when Brett is with Lucy, he kind of doesn't know what to do with himself, so he's trying to get him back, and they're trying to plot to, get rid of Lucy, and then we finally, get back with Brett, which is awesome.
My character is Charlotte. She's a gossipy little, girl who likes to spread rumors and, know the secrets around school.
The character Archie has muscular dystrophy, and he's fine with it. He's cool with it. He not happy with it. Well, maybe a little. He uses it to get what he wants, and he has a huge crush on the head cheerleader, Kendra, and when the new kid Evan comes, he says to him, if you don't get me a date with Kendra, I'll show up and ruin your bar mitzvah. So, and when I first read him, I saw this, and the first scene I read was his scene where he meets Evan, and I said, I love this part, and he's a blast to play.
Oh, I play Malcolm. Malcolm is like the backup for Brett, and Brett is like the main dude, and we help him out. It's like me, Eddie, and Brett, and like we're all kind of stupid, but we're still kind of brains behind Brett, and we're all stupid, but we're still smarter than him. So it's like we're the brains behind him.
For you? My character's Simon, and he's basically cool with the Brett, Malcolm, and Eddie, but not as cool as them. He's kind of like a little Brett, almost. Like, if Brett was gone for a day, I would be like the understudy for Brett. He'd be like a cool guy. Yeah.
I play Evan Goldman. He's a Jewish kid from New York City, and he has to have his bar mitzvah, and so he's trying to get all the cool kids to come to his bar mitzvah, but at the same time maintain the friends that that really like him for who he is. I really like this character because he has this he has to go through a transition that everyone has to go through at one point, and because the reason why there's a show about turning 13, it's because when you're 13, that's when you really find out who you are, and it's also when you start to get labeled in a certain way, like whether you're a geek or a jock or whatever you are. But it's funny because even though that your label will change over time, like the person that you are shouldn't change. And so, he's trying to figure out why he can't have the people who like him for who he is and the cool kids at the same time. And then he realizes it doesn't matter, the people who like me for who I am, those are the people that I need to be with.
Your heart is always breaking, and you want to run and hide. When your hope is gone, your friend is on your side.
Patrice is a lot like me. I found the more I played her, the more I realized how much we have in common. I mean, she's really level-headed and smart, and she's kind of above all the drama. She doesn't hang out with all the popular girls because she doesn't like how they always spread rumors and things like that. And so she's very level-headed in the sense that she knows who she is, and she knows who she wants to be, and so I just love getting to play her because she's so true and real.
Well, I have a 13-year-old of my own, so I know the beast. But actually, they'd be fantastic. Although, I have to say, Stephen Sondheim told one big lie. Children will listen. Children will not listen. But eventually, if you get them to listen, they're fantastic. And also, they're the real thing. Most shows you do, actors are pretending to be Russian aristocrats, pretending to be French noblemen. These guys are 13-year-old school kids. That's what they are. So all I have to do is harness what they can already do. But their commitment to work, as you saw, is fantastic. They do not stop working. My big problem is to tell them to do less. At the beginning of the week, they act like it's a Saturday night, you know? They absolutely give everything every single night, and I love them for it.
When I sat down and I said, okay, how am I going to write this? The word joy came to mind because I really wanted it to be sort of a joyful experience within all the angst and all those things that we all go through in high school and, you know, all the teasing and all the who's popular, who's not. I wanted there to be a sense of joy and fun in the humor and in how sort of the book would lead into the song. And so that was really important. And, you know, I sort of am a teenager at heart. I sort of never grew up myself. And so I really always really wanted to bring that to it and to really hone in on the experience of adolescence and how it sort of stays with us the rest of our lives.